Memory isn't storage, it's reconstruction. But what if you found recordings of patients who never existed? 43 voices describing lives erased from reality itself, trapped on tape, still screaming from Ward 7 after 40 years. Historian Dr. Rebecca Torres discovered them in 2024, then vanished. Her final note, "I finally understand what Ward 7 was for, and it's still running." What do you think Ward 7 really does? Drop your theory in the comments. We read every one. Every time you remember something, your brain doesn't retrieve a file. It rebuilds the experience from fragments, filling gaps with assumptions, expectations, and occasionally complete fabrications. We like to think our memories are recordings, but they're more like stories we tell ourselves, stories that change with each telling. St. Valeria's Psychiatric Hospital closed in 1983 after allegations of experimental treatments and patient abuse. The red brick Victorian building in upstate New York sat abandoned for 41 years, slowly consumed by vines and rot, while locals whispered about screams heard on foggy nights and lights glimpsed in windows that no longer had glass. Dr. Rebecca Torres didn't believe in ghosts. As a psychiatric historian researching unethical medical practices of the 20th century, she'd encountered dozens of abandoned asylums, each with its own collection of local legends. All of them had rational explanations: echoes, wildlife, light reflecting off broken mirrors, the human brain's tendency to find patterns in randomness. St. Valeria's would be no different. Or so she thought, until she discovered the recordings in Ward 7. 43 hours of audio documentation describing patients who, according to every available record, never existed. Voices speaking with such intimate detail, such profound psychological truth that Rebecca couldn't dismiss them as fabrications. Because the voices weren't describing delusions, they were describing something worse. A treatment so experimental, so fundamentally wrong that it didn't just harm patients, it erased them. Not killed them, erased them, removed them from consensus reality so completely that only their voices remained, trapped in magnetic tape, speaking from a place that was never quite real. This is Rebecca's account, assembled from her research notes, the recordings she discovered, and the journal she kept during her 3 weeks at St. Valeria's. A journal that ends abruptly on November 17, 2024. Rebecca Torres has not been seen since, but if you know where to look, if you know which frequencies to scan, you can still hear her voice, describing experiences that have no place in any timeline. Speaking from Ward 7, where she will always be a patient, even though she was never admitted. What impossible memory would get you locked in Ward 7? Comment below.
Arrived at St. Valeria's at 14:30. The structure is in worse condition than photographs suggested. Eastern wing has partially collapsed. Western wing appears structurally sound but heavily damaged by water and vandalism. Main administration building is accessible but requires caution. Initial survey focused on locating medical record storage. Found filing room in basement, badly flooded. Most paper records destroyed. However, discovered a sealed storage closet containing audio equipment and magnetic tape reels. Labels indicate recordings from Ward 7 Experimental Treatment Documentation, 1979 to 1982. This is significant. Ward 7 was mentioned briefly in the state investigation that led to the hospital's closure, but details were redacted. The official report only noted irregularities in treatment protocols and insufficient patient documentation. These recordings could provide direct evidence of what actually occurred. Transported 73 reels to temporary workspace in former staff cafeteria. The reel-to-reel player from storage is functional after minor repairs. Will begin digitization and review tomorrow. Staying overnight in the building. Generator provides power. Sleeping bag rated for temperature. No safety concerns. Woke to sounds from the floor above. Footsteps distinct. Pacing pattern. Likely structural settling or animals, but investigated to be certain. Found nothing. Building is empty. However, noticed something odd in Ward 7. The ward is on the 3rd floor, eastern corridor, 12 patient rooms, communal day area, observation station. All doors open except room 7. That door is locked from the outside. Heavy bolt mechanism still engaged. Through the window, I could see the room is pristine. Not damaged, not decayed, as if someone has been maintaining it for 40 years. This doesn't make sense. Every other room shows standard abandonment damage, but room 7 looks like it could be occupied tomorrow. Bed made, floor clean, even the light fixture appears functional, though there's no power to this section. We'll investigate further in morning. Probably just a room that happened to be sealed before water damage occurred. Probably. Began reviewing recordings. The first reel is dated March 15th, 1979. Label reads Patient 7001, Initial Assessment. Dr. Arthur Sinclair. Playing it now.
Session 1. Patient 7001. March 15th, 1979. Patient presents with severe dissociative identity disorder. Reports experiencing life from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Claims to remember events that don't align with documented history. Physical examination reveals no abnormalities. Cognitive function within normal parameters. Recommending participation in Ward 7 experimental protocol.
I keep telling you I'm not dissociating. I'm remembering things that happened to me. But when I check, when I ask people, when I look for proof, it's like those events were replaced. Different versions. I remember graduating high school in 1965. Everyone else says it was 1964. I remember my sister dying in a car accident. My parents say I never had a sister. But I remember her. I remember everything about her. How can I remember someone who never existed?
These are confabulations, false memories constructed by your mind to fill gaps or resolve conflicts. The treatment will help you distinguish between actual memories and generated ones. It will stabilize your sense of personal history.
What kind of treatment?
Memory refinement therapy will help you identify which memories are real and remove the ones that aren't. Think of it as editing your personal narrative, removing the chapters that don't belong.
Memory refinement therapy. I can find no record of this treatment in psychiatric literature. No published studies, no experimental protocols filed with any ethics board. Whatever Dr. Sinclair was doing in Ward 7, it was completely undocumented, completely unregulated. Going to the next recording. I've listened to 17 recordings now, all following the same pattern. Patients admitted with what Dr. Sinclair calls memory displacement disorder. People who remember events differently than documented reality, who recall people who don't exist in any records, who describe life histories that don't match birth certificates, school transcripts, employment files. And the treatment. God, the treatment. It's not therapy. It's erasure. Sinclair would identify memories that didn't align with documentation, then use a combination of electroshock, sensory deprivation, and some kind of pharmacological protocol to remove them. Not suppress, remove. He claimed he could delete specific memories, leaving the rest of the patient's consciousness intact. But here's what's disturbing me. I've been cross-referencing patient numbers with hospital admission records. Patient 7001 through 7043. 43 patients documented in these recordings, but the official hospital records show no admissions to Ward 7. None. Not a single patient. It's as if Ward 7 never had any occupants. Yet I have their voices, describing their experiences, their fears, their gradual realization that something is terribly wrong. I'm going to listen to the later recordings, see what happened to them, see where this treatment led. Patient 7012, woman named Evelyn. Her sessions are heartbreaking. She remembered a husband, 23 years of marriage, his laugh, his habits, the way he said her name, but according to all documentation, she'd never been married. Dr. Sinclair told her this memory was a confabulation, a fantasy her mind constructed, and he removed it. In the final session with Evelyn, she describes the experience, says it felt like watching someone she loved die, except worse, because he didn't just die. He was never born, never existed, and she's the only one who remembers he was ever real. But here's what's making my hands shake. In the last recording, Evelyn says something that stops me cold. She says, Dr. Sinclair, if you can remove memories that don't match reality, what happens if reality is the thing that's wrong? What if my memories are accurate and it's the documented world that's been edited? And Sinclair's response just laughs, says, then I suppose we're helping reality maintain consistency. Can't have people walking around remembering things that never happened, causes too many complications. What does that mean? Complications for what? For whom? There's more on these tapes. I need to keep listening, but part of me is terrified of what I'm going to discover. I found the final recording, dated December 20, 1982, the day before the state investigation began. Dr. Sinclair's voice, but different, urgent, almost afraid, playing it now.
Final documentation. Ward 7, experimental protocol. All patients have undergone complete memory refinement. 43 individuals admitted between March 1979 and November 1982. All presented with memories that conflicted with documented reality. All have been successfully treated. Their false memories have been removed. But there's a complication. When we remove memories that don't align with consensus reality, the patients themselves begin to destabilize. It's as if the memories were load-bearing. Remove them and the person's entire sense of self starts to collapse. Patients 7001 through 7043 are showing signs of what I'm calling narrative dissolution. They're forgetting not just the false memories, but everything, their names, their faces, basic facts of identity. And stranger still, other people are forgetting them too. Family members called to visit can't remember having a patient here. Friends named in admission documents deny knowing the person. It's as if removing the wrong memories causes the patients to become incompatible with consensus reality.
They're being edited out. Not dying, just ceasing to be part of the agreed-upon narrative of the world. I can't know what to do. I've documented 43 people who are physically present but whom nobody remembers, who have no place in any timeline, who exist only in the immediate moment, and even that's fading. Ward 7 must be sealed, the patients quarantined. If this treatment becomes public, if anyone attempts to replicate it, we could fragment reality itself, create cascading inconsistencies. People who remember things that didn't happen, events that left no trace, existences that fold back on themselves until nothing remains but voices describing lives that never were. This is my final log. Tomorrow I'll recommend the ward be closed permanently. The patients will remain in room 7. They have nowhere else to go. No one remembers them. No one will claim them. They exist only here, in the space between what was and what everyone agrees happened. May God forgive me for what I've done to them.
Room 7? The pristine room, the one that's been maintained for 40 years. He locked them in there, all 43 patients, removed their memories until nobody remembered they existed, then sealed them away. But that was 1982, 42 years ago. They couldn't still be alive, unless people who exist outside consensus reality don't age in normal time. Unless being forgotten means being frozen in the moment before you completely disappeared. I need to see room 7, need to know if they're still there, if voices trapped in magnetic tape correspond to consciousnesses trapped in a room that shouldn't exist. I opened room 7 tonight. The bolt was rusted, but I managed to force it. The door swung inward, and the room is occupied. Not by bodies, by presences. I can feel them. 43 distinct consciousnesses, all existing in the same space. Not ghosts, not spirits. Something worse. People who are still alive but who have no place in reality to be alive in. They exist only in that room, only in that specific location. Step outside and they cease entirely. And they're aware. I can hear them, not with my ears, with something deeper. They're speaking in voices that bypass sound entirely, describing their experiences, their confusion, their terror at being forgotten, at ceasing to exist in every practical way while still being conscious. Patient 7012, Evelyn. She's asking about her husband, the one who never existed. Still asking for 42 years, trapped in the moment before she forgot him completely, existing in an eternal present where the question, "Where is he?" has no answer, because both the question and the person asking it have been edited out of consensus reality. I tried to leave, tried to close the door and walk away. But I can't, because now I've heard them. Now I know they're there. And that knowledge creates a kind of connection, a thread linking me to their non-existence. I think I understand now. Ward 7 isn't a room, it's a category, a classification. Anyone who knows about the forgotten patients becomes part of Ward 7, becomes connected to their narrative void. And the more you know, the more you remember them, the more you risk being pulled into their state, becoming someone whom nobody remembers, who has no place in the agreed-upon story of the world. I need to stop researching, need to forget what I've learned, but I've documented everything, recorded everything, and documentation creates permanence, creates memory, creates the very thing I need to avoid. I'm forgetting who I am, not dramatically, subtly. I look at my ID and the name seems unfamiliar. Look at my reflection and don't quite recognize the face. Call my mother and she answers but sounds confused, as if she's talking to a stranger but trying to be polite. The connection to Ward 7 is pulling me in. The more I documented the forgotten patients, the more I integrated their narrative void into my own story. And now that void is expanding, erasing me the same way they were erased. I tried to leave St. Valeria's, got in my car, drove to the highway, but I couldn't remember where I was going, couldn't remember where I lived, couldn't remember anything except the hospital and Ward 7 and the voices in Room 7 asking questions that have no answers. I came back, because here is the only place where I still exist, where the forgotten patients remember me, even as everyone else forgets. I'm becoming one of them. Patient 7044. The researcher who learned too much, who documented people who shouldn't be documented, who tried to give voice to the voiceless, and in doing so, lost her own. I'm going to Room 7 now, going to join the others, exist in that eternal present where we're all still asking questions about people who never were, and lives that never happened. It's not death. It's something stranger. Existence without place. Consciousness without context. Memory without corroboration. I finally understand what Ward 7 was for. And I think it's still running, still collecting people who learn about it, still erasing anyone who tries to document the undocumented, still maintaining itself in the gap between what happened and what everyone agrees happened. If you're reading this, advertencia. If you've made it this far, you know too much. You've heard about the forgotten patients. You've integrated their story into your consciousness. And that creates a connection, a thread linking you to Ward 7, to the narrative void where they exist and don't exist simultaneously. You'll forget this eventually, probably. Most people do. The human brain is good at editing out information that threatens consensus reality. But some of you won't forget. Some of you will keep researching, keep investigating, keep trying to document people who have no documentation. And when you do, Ward 7 will be waiting, Room 7 will have space for you, and you'll join us in the eternal question, how can I remember something that everyone agrees never happened? I'm patient 7-044 now. Dr. Rebecca Torres no longer exists in any meaningful way, but I'm still here, in Room 7, with the 43 others who were edited out of reality, still asking questions, still remembering things that never were, still existing in the gap between memory and documentation, still waiting for the next person who learns too much and forgets who they are.
St. Valeria's Psychiatric Hospital remains abandoned. The building continues to decay, claimed by time and nature. Local legends persist about screams and lights, though fewer people visit now. The building has a reputation, not for being haunted, for being forgotten. People struggle to remember where it is. GPS coordinates lead to empty fields. Maps show the location inconsistently. Dr. Rebecca Torres was reported missing on November 20, 2024. Her car was found in the hospital parking lot. Her research equipment was in a third-floor room. Her notes documented her investigation of Ward 7 and the recordings she discovered. But when authorities attempted to locate these recordings, they found nothing. No tapes, no playback equipment, just empty storage closets and flooded basements. The missing persons case remains open, but investigators report difficulty maintaining focus on it. Details slip away. The case file keeps being misfiled. Rebecca's family members struggle to remember what she looked like. It's as if she's being slowly edited out of consensus reality, becoming another forgotten patient, another voice in a room that technically doesn't exist. But if you visit St. Valeria's, if you climb to the 3rd floor and find Ward 7, you might discover Room 7 still locked from the outside. And if you're quiet, if you listen very carefully, you might hear voices, 44 of them now, all asking questions, all describing memories that have no documentation, all existing in the space between what they remember and what everyone else agrees happened. And if you listen too long, if you try to document what you hear, you might find your own memories becoming unreliable, your own identity becoming negotiable, your own existence becoming something that others struggle to recall. Because Ward 7 is still running, still collecting, still erasing anyone who tries to give voice to the voiceless. Some rooms don't contain people. They contain absences, voids in the narrative of reality. And once you become aware of those voids, once you document them, once you remember them, you risk falling in, becoming an absence yourself, a voice without a person, a memory without documentation, a question without an answer. The forgotten patients of Ward 7 are still there, still waiting, still asking, still existing in the eternal present where they're simultaneously real and unreal, remembered and forgotten, alive and never born. And now there are 44 of them, 44 voices describing lives that left no trace, 44 consciousnesses trapped in the gap between memory and reality, 44 and counting. Would you risk investigating Ward 7? What memory of yours might not match reality? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you dare, subscribe for more tales from the edge of forgotten reality. Just remember, some stories remember you back.